Pete Alonso to the Orioles. Incredible how last month we talked about Pete Alonso using his player option to go into free agency. And then he finds a new home right at the start of the winter meetings. It's where all the guys that push the buttons on teams go to talk about the upcoming season, or maybe score a player or two. Some go to make offers and pick up high-quality free agents. But the Orioles picking up Pete Alonso? That's kind of a big deal. This is a pickup that injects life back into a team that was rather disappointing last year after making a playoff run in 23 and 24. But since it's Christmas, let's unwrap this gift from Old Saint Nick. Mike Elias. The Orioles have one of the best minor league farm systems in all of the land. I grew up in a town that had a low A team that produced some of the best players that would hit the bigs. In 2012, and I didn't look this up because the research team's on Christmas vacation, but around this time, Buck Showalter started using the farm system to his advantage every other day. He used to call players up for 1 or 2 games to play based off who was pitching. So in a way, he was giving future players a taste of the big leagues, send them back down to the minors, and then eventually the next week bring them back up to the majors. Buck knew how to exercise the roster and get the most out of the 25 players every day. Remember the good old days when there used to be lefty on lefty matchups out of the bullpen? I'm talking 5 pitches out of the bullpen, you get pulled, and then somebody else comes out. I remember that. Now that's when baseball was baseball. The idea of using your roster every day was a unique approach, one that got them deep in the playoffs. So you have the farm system. You have the manager using all the team. What could ruin a World Series run? Try one of the hardest competitive divisions to play in. The Yankees, they have daddy's money. The Red Sox, the city would burn the stadium down if they didn't compete. The Blue Jays, always in a playoff push. The Rays, I don't know why this team still exists. You got old men, you got boats, you got the ocean. You already have 3 of the coolest things. Why do you need baseball? But it's a tough division. And for Birdland, they need to find a way to compete, but be careful. You don't want to get burned. Oh, Chris Davis. He was a special case of hitting the long ball until pitchers figured out how to pitch to him. He was good at one thing, and one thing only. Hitting the long ball. After pitchers figured out how to pitch to him, all he would do is just strike out. The Orioles started the collapse in 2018. Manny Machado was the first big trade to happen right before the All-Star break. But after cleaning house, the Orioles were left with Chris Davis. He was re-signed in 2016 to a 7-year contract at $161 million. He was getting injured, batting below the Mendoza line, and then retired after the 2020 season. So the last 3 years of his contract went to deferred payments, meaning Chris Davis would make a total of $42 million over the span of 14 years. Similar to when we discussed Bobby Bonilla Day last month. Imagine making millions for retiring early. The Orioles may be slightly hesitant to make long-term contract commitments since Mr. Davis. So now let's fast forward a little in the timeline. Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde turned the O's around rather quickly after the COVID season. They built a strong team with the farm system they've been developing and who they've managed to acquire over the years. Allow me to name drop for a second. Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday. What do they all have in common? They all started out in the Orioles farm system. All 3 of them embody what Mike Elias has been trying to do with the Orioles. We can have a competitive team with a combination of strong players that we develop, along with what we can source from the market. This style led to competing in the AL East and the playoffs in 23 and 24. They did struggle in 2021 with a record of 52 and 110. One of the worst seasons ever, but they did bounce back once all the pieces came together. Now we get to the polar bear. This is a pivotal pickup for a few reasons. The first is that the Orioles are spending a fair amount. 5 years at $155 million. Where'd that money come from? It answers the question to everyone else on the team, are we going to stay competitive in a very tough division? Ryan Mountcastle, who would usually play first base, is entering his last year of his contract before he goes into free agency. He would play first base when Pete Alonso isn't, or play DH, or heck, even the outfield. This would make Pete Alonso serve as an answer for the infield after the 2026 season, regardless of what happens to Ryan Mountcastle. The third thing that I don't think many people are going to talk about is Pete Alonso is a right-handed power hitter, and Camden Yards favors right-handed power hitters. Even though they changed the left field wall distance a few times, this still favors Pete Alonso. He will serve as the missing power hitter that they desperately needed last season. Think of it as covering the loss of Anthony Santander. Alonso won the Home Run Derby in 2019, in 2021. I think he'll enjoy setting off the bird bath in left field. The new Orioles skipper, Craig Albernaz, is known for his player-centric connection with the players and his focus on player development. Craig had a short stint as a catcher in the minor leagues, so hopefully he'll manage from a captain of the infield standpoint. If Craig can connect with the team early in spring training, this could be a dangerous team next year.
Thank God I'm a country boy.
Sometimes you need to have a bad year to have a few good years. This past year was a bad year for the Orioles. The bounce back after COVID was very impressive. In playing in one of the hardest divisions with the Yankees, the Red Sox, the recent World Series appearance Blue Jays, and the old men on boats, the Orioles are clearly looking to stay competitive. Signing Pete Alonso shows that the O's care about what's happening right now. Can you, my little friend, say the same? An offer for Schwarbs? That's the best you got. This is a hot take, but part of me thinks getting rid of Brandon Hyde was not exactly the right move. But Craig Albernaz might make us forget about all of that. So to my beloved birds, give us some Orioles magic next season. Also, for the love of God, would you please invest in pitching? Zach Gallen is just sitting there. Look, he's right here. All you have to do is just reach your hands out and grab the guy. We have new videos last Friday of the month. If you want to learn more about the Mets and what I said about Pete Alonso, check it out right over there. Merry Christmas. Maybe we'll do this again next year. Hell if I know. We'll see you next year.